Good morning, kids. Today we're checking out a brand new video from the Food Theaters about how can you really eat an entire horse? I mean, then again, this is coming from the guy that ate a damn Christmas tree. So, yeah, he probably found a couple recipes. Let's check them out.
Oh man, I am so hungry. I could eat a horse. I didn't mean it.
Okay, that was kind of short. Huh. First time in a long time we've had just a short, whatever you call that. I can't think of it right now. But
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory, the show that won't eat a horse, but will beat a dead one. Okay, so hear me out. The
Okay.
food world is full
Okay.
of weird idioms. Bringing home the bacon, walking on eggshells, being a hard nut to crack. Those all make some level of sense. But then you have ones
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. That right there, that is a weird phrase. Like, why do we choose horse as opposed to some bigger and more commonly eaten animal like an entire cow? Or better yet,
know,
why
that
did we
is
choose something
something.
more absurd with a lot of meat like, I'm so hungry I could eat a bear or an elephant just to drive that hungry point home? Well, it turns out for such a common
Stop me,
phrase, we
Peter.
don't actually know a lot about it. At most, we know where it seems to have first been used, in 1824 by a writer named Tobias George Smollett. His original
Oh,
phrasing
okay.
went a little something like this, quote, "For I be so hungry I could eat a horse behind the saddle." That just leaves me with more questions. What
what?
exactly did he mean to imply by saying behind the saddle? Did he mean that he was so hungry he could eat a horse while riding it? Did he mean he could eat directly through the saddle or under the saddle?
don't
Proper
know.
Prepositions be hard, y'all. Or was he only interested in eating certain rear end parts of the horse that for the sake of our monetization shall remain nameless? I don't know. And most
don't
importantly of
know.
all,
I
why
don't
couldn't he
know.
spell hungry correctly? Truly, it is a mysterious phrase. But that's not the only mysterious part of it. Horse meat is just one of those things that we as a culture have collectively determined is not on the menu. And that's saying
I mean,
a
it
lot.
can
I mean,
be.
humans
It's
will eat
just
anything.
not,
Literally
naturally.
anything. In parts of Italy, maggot cheese is a delicacy.
Ugh.
In Mongolia, they use sheep eye as a hangover
What the
cure. In
hell?
ancient Korea, they made drinks out of human baby poo. And yet somehow, some
No.
way, horses are right up there with cats, dogs, and Pokemon on the roster of critters that people in America just will not eat. Why? Where did this taboo come from? As I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom and getting low on meat, should I be feeling guilty when I look over at my golden stallion and think, maybe? Now, let me be clear. Today, we are not eating
Can you
any
even
horses.
eat that?
Stephanie would
I mean,
literally
kill it,
have
I
a
mean.
cow if I ever asked her to eat a horse. I also recognize that the taboo against eating horses does not exist in all parts of the world. Far from it. Horse meat is a key source of protein in lots of different cultures. In fact, it used to
Wait,
be one here
Germany?
in America too. And you see,
No,
that
no,
is
that's
why I'm
someone
so
else.
curious about this. What happened? When and why did horse meat get canceled in America? And if I wanted to, if I really wanted to, could I be so hungry that I could eat an entire horse? No. There are lots of
mean,
reasons why
yeah.
horse isn't on the menu today. But the one I
There's
bet
also
you
a lot of things you really can't eat of a horse. First of all, the hair, the bones, and the frickin' hooves. You can't eat that.
didn't suspect is that here in the US, horse meat has actually been banned by the FDA for potentially being deadly. Now, to begin, let's just get the easy question out of the way first. How hungry would someone have to be to eat a horse? Well, an average-sized horse has a mass of approximately 992 pounds or 450 kilograms. Since
About
horses are
1K.
about 45% muscle, that translates to about 270,000 calories worth of energy. Since the GDA,
Okay, that's
or
cool.
Guide
That's
Daily
good.
Amount Caloric Intake for a Healthy Adult Person, is usually listed at 2,000 calories, the meat from an average-sized horse would theoretically sustain a human for about 135 days, assuming
Wow.
you could preserve it for all that time, etc., etc. Like I said, that one right
And
there,
cook it
that is the
properly.
easy answer. But we want to get to the spirit of the phrase. The saying isn't, I'm so hungry I could eat a bunch of horse meat, it's, I could eat a horse, as in literally the entire thing. So what are we doing about all the other bits?
I mean, I guess technically with the bones, you could kind of melt them to a jelly and then a broth. Kind of make some kind of horse stew.
there. Well, when it comes to organ meat, there's nothing that says you can't eat the hearts, lungs, stomachs, etc. It's just a matter of different preparations to get rid of the potential toxins. See,
Yeah.
while some organ meat is healthy and even recommended for certain health benefits, like, say, all the vitamins associated with the liver, others aren't safe at all. One example, a polar bear's liver has enough vitamin A in it to kill 52 adult humans. I don't
Holy
hear the liver king
heck.
talking about that one. But when it comes to horses, their livers and hearts are perfectly fine to eat as long as you cook them enough to kill any dangerous bacteria. As As for the bones and skin,
You gotta
that
cook
one's
it.
actually really easy. Some of you might already know this, but if not, it behooves me to tell you that rendered down horse bones, skin, and hooves is where most non-vegetarian gelatin comes from. Oh yeah, Jell-O, gummy bears, gumdrops, name a gelatin-based food product, and the default version of it's likely created from a rendering process where the unusable materials from slaughtered meat animals gets boiled down to make the jiggly wiggly gelatin protein. As you might imagine, this process
I'm gonna take a small break and I'll be right back, folks. And I'm back.
This was a lot more labor intensive before the advent of industrial farming, which is why gelatin desserts used to be exclusively thought of as food for the rich. It's also why when instant Jell-O powder became publicly available in the 50s and 60s, Jell-O molds were considered to be such a fancy dinner centerpiece for all the middle class folk, despite them being absolutely disgusting. Check out our episode about the Rainforest Cafe, believe it or not, for more
I remember
information about
that.
that particular phenomenon. Anyway, in short, the gelatin takes care of all the hard-to-eat parts of the horse, and then you can always use the bones to make a rich soup stock.
Whoa. There's still plenty of meat on that bone. Now, you take this home, throw it in a pot, add some broth, a potato. Baby, you got a stew going.
But
Oh, well, hold
guess-
on, folks. We'll be right back. And we're back.
But what if I just wanted to eat a horse all at once in a single day? Well, the Argentine Falabella is actually going to be your best bet. Generally
is a
considered to be the
tiny
smallest breed of
horse.
horse. These cute little guys stand at about 32 inches or 80 centimeters tall and weigh in at about 70 pounds or 32 kilos when fully grown, making them
That
about
is so
900
cute.
pounds less than your typical horse. In total, one Falabella is actually going to translate to about 20,000 calories, meaning that to eat a horse in a single day, you'd have to have the stomach of a competitive eater and the black-hearted soul of a monster. Oh, and not that you asked or anything, but according to many nutritionists, this quote other red meat is supposedly pretty good for you, containing about half the fat, less cholesterol, and twice as much vitamin B and iron as beef. As far as taste goes, it's somewhat sweet, like a cross between beef and venison. It's probably why plenty of people worldwide do, in fact, eat horse regularly. Heck, if you happen to be
Oh,
watching this
boy.
episode from Mexico, Switzerland, Kazakhstan, Belgium, Japan, Germany, Indonesia, Poland,
that
or
was
China, you
Germany.
might be
That was
wondering what
Belgium.
the big deal is with all of this.
over
It's
there.
not really considered all that unusual for horse meat to be sold and eaten the same way that beef, pork, chicken, or miscellaneous is here in the United States. And even
I see
here in
that.
the US, it wasn't always this way. During World War II, when most traditional meat was being rationed, horse meat wasn't. It was both regularly advertised and sold at ordinary butcher shops. In fact, at one time, horse was among the most common cheaper end materials used in the production of dog food.
Kimmelation is packed with lean red meat. It contains the wholesome steaks, chops, and roasts of U.S. government-inspected horse meat.
According to the Humane Society, that
Okay,
practice was
though.
supposed to have ended in the US as of 2007. But again, I ask, if it's so
God dang.
healthy for you and so cheap and so accepted internationally and able to sustain a single person for over 100 days, why has horse meat been explicitly banned in the US by the Food and Drug Administration? Well, your
Peter?
first guess might be that it's because it's a cultural taboo for us in America to eat horse. Sure, back in the World War II days, eating horse was okay. But in the aftermath, Americans saw the explosion of new forms of entertainment, movies, and the newcomer television. And the most popular genre in those early days? The Western.
Westerns.
Westerns became
Yeah,
the number
okay.
one genre of movies between 1945 and 1965. Roughly 1 in 4 releases by studios was a Western. Meanwhile, over in TV
Yeah, okay.
land, you had the likes of The Lone Ranger, The Roy Rogers Show. Not only were cowboys like John Wayne becoming household names, but their horses were as well. The Lone Ranger had Silver. Roy Rogers had Trigger. Even outside of Westerns, you had sitcoms like Mr. Ed, the Talking Horse.
Market drops 5 points. I'm glad my money's tied up in hay. Morning, Wilbur.
Never mind that. I'm tired of you beating me to the morning paper. I like to read it with my eggs.
I like to read it with my hay.
That show right there, that ran for 6 seasons and had 143
Why did that make me laugh?
episodes. Different times, man. Regardless, all this pop culture exposure transformed the horse from merely being a beast of burden into the loyal and sometimes heroic member of the family. And you don't.
And that's
eat
why you
family.
can't
but
eat
here's
it.
the thing. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration can only regulate legally based on health and safety concerns. So while sure, culturally Americans might have had a problem taking a big old bite of black beauty, legally, that's not what's going on here. No, the big problem is that horse meat in the U.S. is toxic. According to
there
an
it is.
ASPCA, Animal Welfare Institute, and Humane Society report on the toxicity of horse meat, we have made horse meat in the U.S. deadly to consume. What do I mean by
God
that?
dang.
Well, the main
What
role
did
of
we do?
horses in the U.S. and most other developed nations are either as farm labor, transportation, or especially with sports like horse racing. Now, to fulfill these roles, the Animal animals are subject to chemical treatments designed either
Never
for the
mind,
wellness
that's
of the
it.
horse or for performance enhancement of the horse. These chemical
Give
cocktails
that horse
basically render their
steroids.
muscle tissue entirely unsafe for human consumption. Heck, for any consumption. Hence why it's no longer used in products like dog food. In 2013, for instance, authorities in Ireland claimed to have discovered traces of horse meat in hamburgers being sold as 100% beef. This set off a massive horse meat panic that became an international scandal across Europe, including countries where horse meat wasn't considered a big deal because many people weren't aware that some US companies were still selling horses for meat to overseas distributors and that a whole black market existed around their sale. That ASPCA report described, quote,
I mean, if you sell the horse, then you have no control over what's done with the horse. If you butcher the horse and sell the meat, now you're causing problems. But you're selling the horse, you're just selling a horse. I mean, they could butcher it, they could use it for farm label. You never know.
Over 50
never
known
know.
drugs expressly prohibited by current federal regulations for use in food animals, likely being ingested by basically any horse that would even be a potential candidate to wind up on a dinner plate. But the actual number of different drugs, both legal and illegal, being used on horses, especially race horses, is likely closer
Steroids.
to the hundreds. With at least one New York Times expose from 2012 describing chemical cocktails of, quote, cobra venom, Viagra, blood doping agents, stimulants, and cancer drugs. Another specific example includes the veterinary anti-inflammatory phenylbutazone, basically a painkiller for pets, which has been known to cause fatal blood diseases like aplastic anemia in humans.
I spent $5 on you for
Okay.
these special mineral tablets. Supposed to be good for your coat.
Well, I'm not worried about my health. It's your health I'm worried about.
Come on, man.
No, thanks. I'm a horse, not a guinea pig.
Here we are pushing pills on poor horses like
Damn it.
Mr. Ed since the 1960s. Fast forward to today, and now look at how far these noble steeds have fallen.
Just need something to help me focus. Coffee. No, I just need the right music to do
opera.
drugs to.
Honestly, I'm surprised it took me that long to get a BoJack Horseman reference in here. But in all seriousness, wherever you draw your line on animal rights, meat eating, horse meat, yay or nay, kind of feels like
Probably
we should
should be
not be
nay.
shooting horses up with cobra venom and Viagra to make them run faster and work harder. Anyway, there you have it, friends. If you were so hungry you could eat a horse, should you? Well, you could, and technically it would feed you for a full third of the year with a nice side of Jell-O for dessert. Just make sure that that horse is not coming from the U.S. Or, you can
Yeah.
always just opt for a bowl of Apple Jacks over Applejack. Have yourself
Ah.
an actual pie before a Pinkie Pie. A Mr.
Ah.
Pibb instead of a Mr. Ed. I think you get the idea. And a big thank you to our sponsor for today's main event,
Oh,
Factor.
Big Mac
Get it?
before
Main,
Big
because it's
Mac.
an Episode about horses. Great, awesome. If you ever do get hungry enough to eat a horse, don't go out to your
Let's
local.
see. The rest of this is just going to be going on about Factor and all that they do. So that's going to be the end, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.